Good morning. Welcome to Open Pagan Church. Well, we're going to move right on into it. Timing is a little short, so we're going to slide right on in. Today we're going to be talking about casting a pagan altar. Yeah. Well, we all of us know, that there are multitudes of paths, pagan paths, ideologies, philosophies, and what have you. And everybody everywhere has their own certain way, their own separate way of casting an altar. So what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to show you some videos, different types of people casting altars in different ways. One of those altars that's going to be cast is being cast by one of my students, who is also a minister in his own right, has his own open circle down south. And like I say, we're going to just dive right on in. People that come in, good morning, Danae. So again, today's topic is casting altars. The shoulds and the shouldn'ts and the types of altars that are cast. Like I say, I got some videos that I want to share with you. The first up is going to be Clint. He runs an open circle down south. He does a phenomenal job calling a open blessing altar. And we're going to move right on into that. Morning, Clint. So, again, this is Clint.
Hello, this is Clinton. I'm a shaman. I'm going to do a blessing at my altar. This is my first one videotaping, so bear with me, please.
Good morning, Sally.
I'm going to do the triad to bring blessings to my house. Goddess, Mother, Giver of Wisdom, please bless my house. Bring good tidings and prosperity in this new year. So mote it be. God, masculine, protector, please bring blessings and helpfulness and prosperity to my house as you see fit. So mote it be. Great Spirit, all without you, there is no us. Please bring blessings and prosperity to my house in this new year and to others that need it. So mote it be.
Okay, as you can tell, Clint did a phenomenal job in a basic shaman house blessing cast. Now, that's a casting of an altar that I usually always teach my students as a base altar cast 101. Now, like I said, there are thousands of paths in the pagan philosophy, and there are a million different ways to cast an altar. There's not necessarily a right or wrong way to cast an altar. You can have debates on, well, I would never cast an altar that way because, or I cast an altar this way because. The purpose for this particular Open Pagan Church this morning is to give the first years, the seekers, the newcomers, those that don't really understand what the pagan philosophy is about. What is it to call an altar? What is it to cast an altar? Is calling and casting the same thing? Sure it is. Again, Clint, you did a wonderful job. Now, the next little video up, it's It's from the how-to series. Yeah, believe it or not, there's a YouTube how-to series. I kind of thought this was very interesting. It's going to give you a basic Wiccan casting of a spell on an altar. And so, again, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. We're going to move right on into this one, and then we're going to talk about them a little later. So here we go.
Wiccans cast spells very carefully if they know what they're doing. They use the power of the divine. They work guided by it. I always suggest that people do a little divination before they undertake spell casting, that they ask if it's appropriate to cast the spell, and that they ask for guidance in casting the spell so that they get information. The symbols that come up will help you to determine which element you want to work with, whether you want to work with air or fire or water or earth or a combination of them. And if you're given advice not to do it, take the advice. If you're going to go ahead, my recommendation in casting any kind of a spell is while you want to have a specific purpose, a goal in mind, an intent, the risk with all spells is that we tap into our unconscious, and we do it unconsciously. And there are all kinds of complications dwelling down there. Nothing evil, nothing dire, but complications, the things that we have yet to learn about ourselves. And that is, in fact, one of the points of a spell not working out or not working out as you intend. It's an opportunity to learn something you needed to learn about yourself. Okay, so the safeguard in dealing with these unknown unconscious forces that can influence the outcome of a spell is by using the sacred as your partner. One way is by asking advice, by using divination, by engaging in dialogue with the divine. The other way is an almost foolproof method that I really love, which is to leave a certain space. I always do this when I do any kind of ritual. I never overscript. And when you do a spell, you never overscript. You always leave a space for the divine to express itself in the outcome of the event. So if you need transportation to get to work, I think we were talking about that before, if you need transportation to get to work, you don't ask for a Ferrari, you ask for transportation. If you need a new apartment, you don't ask for, the penthouse on Park Avenue, you ask for a new home. You trust the universe to help you in finding the thing that's right for you at the time that you cast the spell. And the spell is not a pleading with a divinity that is greater than you and looking down on you because you're weak and helpless. In fact, it's a partnership. So you must go to the indwelling divinity, the well of your own gifts, and bring that out creatively. That's what a spell is. It is this work of art. You can go to a book and copy a spell and follow it precisely, but we're not dealing with a mechanical universe. You're living with it. You're living within a living, conscious, sacred universe, and so you need to approach it as such. And that's the essence of casting a successful spell, that you respect the sacred universe, you invoke it as your partner, you ask for its guidance, you work with its energy, and you trust it to provide the outcome that's best for you. And that's what you ask for in a spell. Whatever the topic of the spell is, you ask for the best outcome. And that's a great way to cast a great spell.
Okay, so you'll notice the lady was talking about, Clint. If you're watching the video on the Open Pagan Church site and you post, you'll come across as Open Pagan Church. If you're watching the video on the House of Pagans site, then when you post something, you'll come across as your own name. Thought I'd drop that in there. Anyway, as the lady talks about, right, and shamans are the same way. When you're casting an altar, right, you don't want to get greedy. The last thing you want to do is you want to get greedy. Now, as a open altar cast, you want to have the things on your altar that are the most important to you. You want to keep your altar relatively organized, right? Good morning, Kim. But you want to keep your altar organized. You don't want to have a whole bunch of stuff on your altar. You don't want it chaotically set up. You don't want it cram packed, so that you can You can't see what you're doing, right? And here in a moment, I'm going to show you two other videos. One of them is a revenge spell, and the other one is a love spell. Now, before I show you these videos, it is very important, especially newcomers, first years, and seekers. Very important that you understand a couple of very simple rules. Rule 1, must have coffee. No, I'm just messing with you. Rule 2, must have vape. Stop smoking cigarettes, start smoking vape. Nah, messing with you. Rule number 1, always remember, seriously, always remember, guys, every magic has a cost. Every spell has a cost. Everything that you do magically has a cost, right? So if you jump up to your altar and you start casting your green candles or whatever color you use in your path, money, 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 there's a cost to that. I have known several people over the years that have gone to their altar and they've cast for money. And they end up a very favorite relative dying, thus leaving them quite a large sum of money. But the cost was the dying of a relative. Now, herein lies the paradox. Was that relative going to die anyway? Did the cast cause the relative to die prior to their time? Who the hell knows? I don't know. It's not my moral question to answer. But do remember, everything, hate cast, love cast, money cast, everything has a cost. So when you're wording your altar cast, guys, make sure that the words are correct within your heart. Absolutely, Danae says what you put out will come back as a lesson, reflects back. Absolutely. And this is the kind of the point I'm trying to make. Like the lady said in the video, if you're needing transportation to work, you go to altar, you light a single candle and ask the cosmos, the deity, whoever it is you speak to, I need reasonable, dependable, inexpensive transportation to and from work. And what this does is this puts out to the cosmos. It puts that energy out to the cosmos. And it's got to be in your heart, right? If you're saying reasonable, inexpensive, and dependable, but in your heart is saying, I want a Maserati. Deity generally is going to pick up what's in your heart in combination with what's in your words. This can cause issues. So, with this in mind, we're going to move on. It does look like the Facebook video is freezing just a little bit. There we go. All right. So, with this in mind, right, we're going to ease on over, and we're going to kick off the other video. And this one is casting a revenge spell.
How to cast revenge spells. Retaliate against those who did you wrong with a little hocus-pocus payback. You will need a black candle, carnelian, a piece of paper, a fire, asafoetida, a fabric swatch, agrimony, your enemy's picture or possession, and judiciousness. Step 1. Light a black candle and watch the flame flicker as you declare out loud what harm you hope to inflict on your enemy. Black is also considered to be protective and can be used to safeguard someone or something. Step 2. Hold a carnelian stone in your cupped hands and visualize filling the stone with light as you think of your foe. Carnelian amplifies a person's power, making your spell more potent. Step 3. Write your revenge fantasy on a piece of paper and then toss it in a fire or feed it to the flame of a black candle. As the paper burns, imagine your vengeance coming true. Step 4. Sew a tablespoonful of asafoetida inside a small fabric square, creating a sachet. Keep it nearby whenever you see, touch, or smell this stinky spice, also known as devil's dung. It will focus your energy on making your revenge spell happen. Step 5. Put a drop of agrimony essential oil on something that represents your enemy, like a photo or something that belonged to them. Visualize them falling victim to your spell as you recite out loud the misfortune you hope to send their way. Step 6. Don't cast revenge spells lightly. If abused, the curses may boomerang back on you. Did you know? The ancient Greeks hexed their enemies with curse tablets, lead sheets etched with their enemy's name, crime, and the desired punishment.
Okay, so that, my fine feathered young friends, old friends, what have you, that was a very basic, very basic revenge spell. And the lady's absolutely right. Be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. And, you know, I have to say this, as shaman, we don't ask for revenge, right? If you come after me with magic, I'm simply going to vacuum it up and convert the energy. That's a topic for another church. But you have to remember that everything you send out comes back. Every bit of magic, every bit of magical energy that you send out, there is a cost, right? And let's move on to the last video that I have. It's this one. The title of it is Watch a Real Salem Witch Cast a Love Spell. These are perhaps one of the most dangerous spells, magic, altar cast, whatever. These are one of the most dangerous spells anyone can ever do, because you are manipulating energy and forcing the cosmos to perhaps do something that is not time to do. Now, understand that everything happens in its own time, right? I'm all for asking for help, right? I'm all for asking for a hand, right? But I'm not for forcing the cosmos and pushing the cosmos and bending and manipulating energy to do what needs to be done, right? Danae says messing with fate. I get that. However, in retrospect, if someone attacks my family with magic, I will respond in kind, right? So remember that. And it's just like someone approaching me in a physical altercation manner. I'm going to respond in kind. It's the way it is, right? All right, so here we go. This one is casting a love spell. Yeah, right. Here we go.
Now at this time, I want you to make a wish and visualize him coming to you. So more to be. 3 times. 3 times 3, you shall have love in your life. So more to be. This is the sacred apple. And it comes from the earth, so that's why witches love it. And then we have another surprise when we cut it. There's a perfectly 5-star little pentagon here. So I'm going to carve this out for you, right where the star is. So now we pour this beautiful honey into this wonderful sacred apple for the sweetness of love to be in your life. This has 6 or 7 different herbs blended on the new moon for love. And I'm going to put this over here for you to go on top of the apple. Nothing but the best. Love and lust. May you have both. True soulmate. And love and lust. May you have both. So now at this time, I'm going to do your spell for you. And you would repeat it after me. By this apple, and honey sweet. May your true love you soon meet. I call in the power of Venus, goddess of love, goddess of Friday, and I ask for your soulmate to be sent to you from above, that he will be full of protection and will provide for you, full of love and light, and your future will be ever so bright. So mote it be. It is done.
All right. Well, that was a probably one of the simplest love spells I have ever seen. Right? Okay. So we've um, we've seen the videos of different forms of altar cast. We watched Clint do a basic home blessing altar cast. We watched a lady do explain a few things about Wiccan basics, right? Understand, I'm not Wicca, right? Wicca is not always witch. Witch is not always Wicca. All pagans are damn sure not Wiccan. Yeah. So that being said, wow. Um, Kim says I've not done a revenge spell, but I have binded a few people on the dark moon. Absolutely. That's a basic Pagan 101 binding spell that, of course, shamans have a different way of doing it. Witches have one way. Wicca has another way. Druid has a way of doing it. Asatru and so on and so forth, yada, yada, yada. But, um, my husband would like that one, Danae says. Right, yeah, well, go ahead. Um, so, what what are we looking at here? I mean, with casting altars, you know? I mean, Christians, take a look at the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church uses their altar to say their prayers on all the time. Baptist churches use a pulpit. Not much of an altar, but it is a place where he can put his Bible he's thumping there. So there you go. Um, Again, like we said in altars in the last church, an altar is simply a place where you can set your magical tools, a place where you can focus on and concentrate. You don't need an altar, right? You don't to cast an altar. You don't need candles. I teach my students all the time that you don't need altars. You don't need tools. I could sit right here in my chair and do a cast of an altar simply by closing my eyes, visualizing what I want, visualizing my intent. That is task one, right? Casting an altar. There are typical steps that all pagan philosophies do when they're casting an altar. And of course, these can be slightly variable. Of course, like I say, there's a million different ways to cast your altar. Step one, why? Why are you coming to the altar? Why are you calling on deity to perform a particular function, right? Step two, what is that function? What is that intent? Intent is different than why, okay? The why is you walked up to it to begin with. I need to do this. The intent is I need to do this because, right? What is the intent in your heart? Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you at the bottom of your ropes? These are the three times when you really do not actually want to cast an altar. And I'll say that again. Angry, sad, at the bottom of your ropes. That's the time that you really do not want to call an altar. Because you're not going to be right in your mind. You're not going to be right in your heart. You need to be in control and understandably ready to make that comment, right? See what we got in the comments area here. Yeah, absolutely. Kim says first time she went to mass, it was like they were doing a ritual. Where do you think the Catholics got their ritualistic philosophies and ideologies from? All religions on the planet, I say that again, and it's easy to prove, all religions on the planet come from the original pagan philosophies all the way back pre-Mesopotamia. I'll let you look that up if you want the proof, but it's there. So, our conditions for an altar are intent, right? Being right within yourself. Not going to altar when you're an emotional wreck. Not going to altar when you're in an emotional state where you do not have control over your elements. And I don't mean earth, air, fire, and water. I mean your human elements. And I've covered those before in videos, and I will cover them again here, I'm sure. But you want to be stable within your physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual self, right? You don't want to be completely batshit crazy when you're going to cast an altar. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to do a real quick altar cast without an altar. I'll take a minute to center myself and call in the shaman deity for training purposes. Anybody that's ever been a student of mine is aware of one of my training casts. But however, this is going to be a real cast in protecting of the home. Okay? This is a protection cast for the home. It's verbally spoken. It's done without a candle, without an altar, without any tools. The only thing I have here in front of me is my desk, keyboard, and 5 monitors. Go figure, right? Okay. Great Spirit, Lord and Lady, Great Triad, I call the council of 9 elements, earth, air, fire, wind, and water. I call the great cardinal points north, east, south, and west. Be with me. Great Spirits, I ask you that you place the watchtowers at each of the 4 corners of the property. Also place the guardians with them. Protect the property and all within. For as we are only human and we are fouled to anger and hate, we ask that you keep that under control and not allow us to go to altar in the casting of hatred or anger. Protect the property. Protect all that reside within it in this place. Allow the negative energy to escape that we may understand a more balance of the positive. I ask that you be with us on a daily basis. So mote it be. Blessed be. And that's a real simple protection cast for the home. It's a prayer. You know, if a Christian was watching that, well, the dumbass, the only thing he did was pray to the spirits. Well, absolutely. That's what a cast is, right? Whether you're casting a spell, you're casting an altar, or you're calling circle. That's going to be next Sunday, by the way. Circle. See, you're one up. You got the topic for next Sunday. But a cast is a simple prayer, so it doesn't matter. You know, I find it interesting that on Facebook a lot of times you get these people calling their prayer warriors. Oh, pray for me. No, that's not something I generally ask for. I generally don't ask for people to pray for me or cast their altars for me or go to circle for me. I will periodically, however, ask for people to send me positive energy. Sometimes life gets in the way, right? Sometimes stress and anxieties get built up to the point where we just simply lose control of self, or we think we have. And that's when we need to breathe. It sounds extremely cliche and it sounds extremely blasé, as it were, but we need to breathe. We need to sit back on occasion and take some deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And what this is going to do is that's going to flood the brain with oxygen, allow the brain to calm down a little bit before we cast. I don't ever, I don't ever cast an altar or call a circle without first getting within myself, reaching out to spirit guide for the right words to say. I be sure that what's in my mind matches what's in my heart. Okay, and you'll get these people and they just fascinate the hell out of me. Um, they'll be driving down the road and somebody will cut them off. Praise Jesus, that son of a bitch done cut me the fuck off. Okay, so you're going to praise your deity and then you're going to cuss the bastard that cut you off. Really? What's up with that? Um, the ones I really love, right? Sorry, it's going to sound like Christian bashing, but it's really not. They go out and they get shit-faced drunk on Friday and Saturday night, right? They go out and commit just about every sin that Christians call a sin that they could commit on Friday and Saturday night. And then they go to church on Sunday morning all hung over going, man, better forgive me for my sins for I got fucked and laid and drunk last night. Ho ho, fucked my neighbor's wife too. And they think that they are forgiven by the Almighty or whatever. Well, there you go. I'm sorry I had to say that. And, as a pagan, most every pagan I know of, or at least, believes in karma, believes in cause and effect. If you hit the tree and you don't know what you're doing when you hit the tree, it's going to hurt. Um, if you know, if you do something stupid, stupid's going to slap you back. And yeah, so that's going to be on my live with the shaman tonight, called Angry Shaman. Pissed off at stupid. Um, then, of course, in my radio show on Coffee with Pegasus on UnitedPaganRadio.net is going to be shaman paths, many of the different shaman paths. So that's a plug for a bit of an advertisement there. Well, we're 33 minutes past the hour, right? 33 minutes past the hour, and we're going strong. That's basically casting an altar. You got to have intent, and you need to have a good thought of what you're going to say. Now, path speaking, shamans do not do ceremonies. What is a ceremony, you say? Is a ceremony and a ritual the same thing? No, they're not. A ritual is fly by the seat of your pants. Nothing written, it's all in the head, it's all in the heart. That's a ritual. A ceremony is something that you do the same way all the time, saying the same words. It's generally written down, right? I know most all Wiccan traditions do ceremonies. They'll call it a ritual, that's fine, it's just a short term. But it's actually, by definition, a ceremony. And we'll cover more of that on the Pagan Circle next Sunday. In fact, once we're done here and I'm done with my other shows, I'll set the project up for next Sunday in calling circles. Try to pull some videos together so you guys can see the separate different types of circles. So let's take a minute. 34 minutes past the hour. Yep, weddings. Weddings are a good one. I've done multitudes of weddings and hand fastings and what have you. And I typically try not to make them an hour because my ass is not going to stand there for an hour preaching to the people, as it were. A lot of preachers get up there and they take advantage of this for the time to beat the pulpit. Beat the pulpit. Not something I'm interested in. looking at the chat area to see if I missed anything. Right. So, casting an altar. Intent. Why? What are you going to say? Are you going to have herbs? Are you going to burn herbs, incense? What color are your candles going to be? As shaman, we never use colored candles. Absolutely. Um, as shamans typically could care less what color the candle is other than black or red. Um, Black for us is anger, or I'm sorry, black for us is death, and red is for anger and blood. So we definitely don't use those two colors. I typically, myself and I teach my students to either use white or clear. That way, white or clear can be any intent or any color or anything of the nature in which you want it. See, it's all in an intent. What's in here? What's in your heart? Absolutely. And beating on the desk, I screwed up my camera. Oops. Yeah, there we go. All right. So, what's your thoughts? Uh-oh. Speaking of wedding. Hey, Kim's getting married in September to her first husband. Hey, there you go. Whatever trips your trigger, right? Talk about making full circle that we'll talk about next week. Making full circle. Yeah. Protection colors. Danae says protection colors are black and red combined. That's kind of cool. I can see that. Definitely congratulations, Kim. Wish we could be there. I don't know that timing, money, and gas is going to let us be, but you know. So, what are your thoughts on never been able to find clear tea lights yet? Well, clear is clear is kind of it's just a thought, right? If they're white, clear ones are hard to find. Um, Up until 4 or 5 years ago, I found clear tea lights at the drop of a hat. I mean, they were very easy to find, right? On the beach in Galveston. Now that's going to be cool. That's going to be a nice place to have a wedding. September shouldn't be too hot. Having grown up in that area, I know that September is not going to be too bad. However, September, the winds are very high, so don't try to put up any canopies. Camille and I can definitely tell you about canopies, high winds on Galveston. So, altar. Altars are very important. Altars are very important to most pagans. We've got 2 or 3 altars in our house. We've got one in the bedroom. Then we've got the family altar that's a family heirloom buffet that sits in the hallway. We used to keep it very clean and very organized. Then we got 3 cats, and the 3 cats keep it very disorganized, not very clean, and not very put together, so to speak. Our 3 cats love to play with magical tools. So anything that's highly breakable, we definitely do not put it on the house altar. And my daughter has this cat called Tom. He's huge, and that's no exaggeration. This damn cat can stand flat-footed on the floor and put both of his paws up on the kitchen counter and reach up and swipe things off the kitchen counter. And damned if he's not even fully grown yet. Yeah, so speaking of Tom, he has this. If it's a bottle of water, open or not, if it's an open glass, he wants to reach up and knock it over. If it's got liquid in it, he wants to knock it over. Even if it's an empty glass, he still wants to knock it over. This cat has something about um, containers. Um, Kim, they're asking what time your wedding is. So let's recap for a minute, shall we? We're 41 minutes past the hour. I'll be buggering off in about 10 minutes to go to my next show. Um, Altar, not required. Nice to have. Nice place to keep your nice place to keep your tools. Last week I showed you on Google um, some of the different types of altars to kind of give you ideas. Anything with a flat surface can be an altar. However, make absolutely certain, and I say this with all experience, never set a tea light candle directly on a chest of drawers, dresser, desktop, or anything without something under it. You want something that is not flammable under it, and I'll tell you why. I have laid some cast on altars that the candle burned all the way through the wax and through the aluminum sheeting in the bottom and burned into the wooden plaque that I had the tea light sitting on. So never set tea lights on anything that is flammable. If you're going to use a wooden plaque, make sure that it's treated with flame retardant. If you're going to use glass tea light holders, I've busted a few of those with cast. If you're going to use a glass tea light holder, make sure it's heat tempered and not heat sensitive. I say again, make sure it is heat tempered and not heat sensitive. Yeah, Kim had a candle holder blow up when she was working a spell. I mean, it happens. You get that much energy into a candle going out to the cosmos or deity or whatever. There's a shitload of energy in that heat, and that heat is multiplied in those candles. And some dumbass people say magic's not real. I've seen it happen too many times that candles will burn all the way through, all the way down past the end. And I can tell you, shamans and a lot of other paths out there, once we make a cast, we never blow out the candle. That's another reason we use tea lights, because I personally do not want my energy tied up in a candle, in a candle that's going to take a week to burn down. Now I say that, but in retrospect, sometimes when I'm asking for assistance with prosperity, with assistance with money, I always put in that cast, shall no harm come to another. When I'm asking for money or I'm asking for assistance with prosperity, I always in the cast with shall no harm come to another. So mote it be, blessed be, amen, whatever you say. Sally has a granite slab. You break a granite slab, you've done something. Hey Jennifer, welcome. Yes. Um, Kim was talking about every time her son and them tried to use cell phones in Circle, it never would work. Um, how many circles did we cast down south that I told people, you know, don't use your cell phones. If your cell phone is on, turn it off. One, that's for respect. And again, like I say, I'll cover this next Sunday in Pagan Circle. But I have also drained batteries in cell phones, my own as well, having my cell phone in Circle because of health issues at the house or whatever. Um, yeah, Camille posted a picture of Tom in in group. He's big. He's big, and he's not even full grown yet. He's something else. All right, last 4 minutes. Any questions on altar, on casting of the altar? Well, Danae, you're right. People for thousands of years have set out to de to make magic not realistic. And there are card tricks, there's sleight of hand, but that's not magic. Magic is the manipulation of energy. By definition, magic, I'll say again, magic is the manipulation of energy, something that typically cannot be seen right away, normally. Sleight of hand, card tricks, escape tricks, I don't call that magic. People who perform them, for lack of a better term, call themselves magicians. Okay. Semantics, I guess you could say. There is one thing that I thought of. I've noticed that a few of our churches have been in the middle of conversation and they've kind of gotten cut short because I do have a 11 o'clock radio show that starts on UnitedPaganRadio.net. Okay, so I have to cut the churches at 10 minutes before the hour so that I can get Skype up, make sure Skype's going to work, make sure everything's going to function correctly. Um, my question is, would you guys rather we start at 9:30 and go from 9:30 to 10:30? That way, if we run over, we've got that extra 20 minutes. Or are we okay with 50-minute churches? That's a question that you guys can answer in group as we go along. You don't have to answer it right now. Think about it. I know. It's hard enough for people to get their ass out of bed and be online at 10 o'clock in the morning, much less 9:30. But I do have I do have other appointments that do have to be made, and then of course at 8 o'clock, I think I said earlier 7, I apologize, but at 8 o'clock Central Time on Sundays, we do live with the shaman on the Open Grove page, and that is adult only. That is adult content. I don't watch what I'm saying. I could care less. I am in pure total shaman mode. Um, so if you guys are cool with 9:30, then next week when we do Circle, I'll make sure I post 9:30 instead of 10. Again, that is Central Time. For you guys that are in New York, that's going to be 8:30 your time. For you guys out on the West Coast, you're going to be 2 hours behind us. So 9:30 here will be 11:30 in the West Coast. Keep that in mind. And for those of you in the UK, you are 6 hours ahead of us, and of course you already know that. 8 o'clock tonight, we'll be on the road, okay? All right. Well, with that in mind, we are 10 minutes before the hour. I always leave you guys with a thought, right? With this thought. And so keep this in mind. Newcomers, seekers, first years, what have you. Well, hell, now I gotta wait on the video to unlock. Ah, there we go. Okay. Keep this in mind, please. When you're learning how to do an altar, do not do an altar cast when you are led by emotions, anger, or hurt, or scared. Don't allow your emotions to drive your altar call. A lot of people make that mistake and they end up paying multiple years of karma. Be true to yourself. Be true to your path. If you're going to study paganism, study it with all of your heart, your being, and your soul. Again, like we always say, walk the talk. Don't just talk. Be who you are. Be who you say you are. Don't try to be something you're not, and always be willing to learn something new. With this, we appreciate you watching Casting Altars in this week. Next week will be Circle, the Pagan Circle. Again, as always, thank you for watching. Have a great day.